Barbeau in the house. Mic check 1 2, it's the Boba Joe crew. Mark Lennon, Johnny Sorensen coming straight to you. Talking classic eras, yeah we setting the scene. Films, games, tunes, toys, you know what I mean? From the old school vibe, feeling so divine. Boba Joe show, drop the beat so low. Heavy bass lines make your speakers blow. Kicking it classic, from heads to the toe. Yeah baby, yeah, watch the Boba Joe show. Mortal Kombat, Predator, Scarface in the flow. Miami Vice vibe, MacGyver on the go. Alien screams, NBA jam all night. Pro wrestling legend, shining never so bright. Macho Man Randy, Ric Flair. Yeah. Show, drop the beat so low. Heavy bass lines make your speakers blow. Kicking it classic, from head to toe. Yeah, baby, yeah, watch the Boba Joe show. Action figures lined up, ready for the fight. Ninja Turtles power shining ever so bright. Transformers roll out, masters of the universe. Classic memories can't be reversed. Yeah, baby. Boba Joe, that's the flow. Boba Joe, Boba Joe.
Welcome to the Boba Joe Show.
Welcome, welcome. Hope everybody's up for having a few laughs.
Yeah, we're hanging out in a dodgy flat and we're ready to sell you a load of porkies out the back of a stuffed old van.
We're ready to talk about some comedies. Maybe next week we'll talk about some tragedies just to even things out.
Yeah, Sony's the tragedy. Physical media going away, that's the tragedy.
Yeah, we've got a nice little broad discussion today on some British produced, let's say, comedies. They're not all like 100% British because we got like Fatherhead
like
and
British
the
UK
like in there.
Yeah.
Yes, the Ireland, UK, British Isles, Irish Sea, the general area, you know. What can I say? There's a lot of funny fuckers occupying the two islands. I'm not one of them, though, fortunately. Otherwise, I might have, made some money out of it.
I love in the old... well, there's a few different shows we'll talk about, but I just think in IT Crowd, one of the early episodes, Roy has the shirt, just says people. It's like, what a bunch of bastards. Well, he says it, but then he has the shirt also, something later about it as well.
Laugh tracks. I do kind of miss them. I would frequent this bookshop if I lived in the area.
Kind of looks like the room now, except half its toys and half its books. There's just stuff all literally stacked up all everywhere around me.
Black Books. I used to watch it religiously every weekend. Absolutely loved it. I'm a big Dylan Moran fan. He's a funny guy. He's even just to watch him like
in Melbourne about 15 years ago.
Oh, did you? Did you get to actually? You got to see him?
Yeah, I went with my brother. It was brilliant, actually. It was a funny story, but I'll tell you that. Well, the first part of it is that I'd never seen Black Books before. Around early 2000s, maybe let's say 2004, 5, somewhere around there. I moved back to the state of Victoria where my mum and brother and sister were. They were still in high school at the time. I was in my 20s. But I went back and basically moved back and home for a year until I was figuring out what to do next and different job, whatever. I'd never seen Black Books, and they're like, and one day they're like, "Have you seen Black Books?" And I'm like, "I don't know. What are you talking about?" I hadn't owned a TV for like 2 years at that point. I still had some video games and stuff I'd stashed away, like a PS2 and Vice City, but I basically didn't own a TV for a couple of years and just whatever, read books and that. So they had them on DVD, and they're like, "Oh, you got to see them! You got to see them!" We sat down and watched them all 3 seasons over a couple of days, with my whole family, that my mum, stepdad, brother, and sister, and a dog, golden retriever at the time called Gina, and I just loved it. I remember I was laughing so hard, my guts just hurt so bad, like my whole abdomen was just sore from watching back-to-back episodes.
It's such a good show, it's such a good, and maybe if you were to like if you were just to give like somebody like a synopsis, like, oh, what's that show about, you'd be like, oh, well, it's about a guy who owns a bookshop in London, and it's about him running the shop and his assistant and their friends. You'd probably think, well, that sounds kind of boring, or what's so funny about that? But then when you realize that Barnard is a raging alcoholic, and does not give a shit about running a business in the slightest. All he gives a shit about is drinking, smoking, and just having a wee read. He just wants to chill and read his book. And every human that walks into that shop is an annoyance.
Yeah. It's just an excuse to like have somewhere to live and make a mess, and he's not interested in customers or people. Like there's even ones where you're like, people, why do they keep coming in here? And then it's like, well, we've got a bookshop. It's like, yeah, but why do they come to me?
Surely there are other bookshops that they can visit,
It does remind me of actual second-hand bookshops I've been to in Christchurch as a kid that were not customer friendly, and there were people that I would say were genuine bastards that you went in there and they were annoyed that the fact you were even in the store, probably because we were like 10, 15 or whatever, and they want to sell stuff for adults and like, oh, kids don't have money. But I remember at least 2 different bookstores in New Zealand I used to go to with my mate, and we used to describe the guys who run them as like just complete bastards. Like anytime you mention them, you're like, oh, I went to the bastards bookshop again, because my mate would be picking up like, I don't know, like old Beatles records and stuff like that, whereas I'd look at like comics and things. But there was a couple like that in Christchurch. One was right in the street where I used to live, and that one was awful. He had these crappy comics with faded covers and a bunch of books. Another one was across town, and the guy had this little curtain in the back, and that's where the toilet was, but half the time he never pulled it. So if you're walking in the front door, you're going to catch him taking a slash in the middle of the day. And he just didn't give a
slash
shit.
If you're lucky.
Yeah.
It's wild though, because even like that, yeah, it's the same over here, man. Like even that first image of the actual black book shop, like I've seen a million bookshops like that with the boxes at the front and the books just sitting like, and you go into the shop itself, and you get that kind of musty smell. Everything there is fucking
everything
ancient,
smells like a 70s Marvel comic, all those kind of pages of.
Definitely, they capture the atmosphere of one of those shops perfectly, I think, in the Black Book Show. Like it's
totally.
It is eerily.
I've been to other good
to
secondhand bookshops, but they're all piled up messes because they're small and pokey, and you got to nose around and try and find stuff in there. And like my mate used to find old like wrestling magazines and Star Trek novels and Doctor Who books and stuff.
Yeah, is that Bill Bailey there making his appearance? In the second screenshot, Manny. As man, it's a wild show. It's a wild show. I will apologize in advance to people listening today if you haven't watched these shows and I'm giving very kind of like vague or broad descriptions. Go out and watch the shows, because we're not going to like go through it like thread by thread or anything like that. Or we are more kind of reminiscing and recommending as opposed to
absolutely
like detailingly reviewing.
So I said before, I'd never seen it. My family recommended it to me. I watched it all together, and since then I've got my own copies on DVD, and I watch it pretty much at least once a year. I've watched every episode 20 or 30 times at this point, and it's so quotable too. There's so many great like just lines and quotable stuff in it, and the episodes get like increasingly bizarre where they like drink some there's one where they have to like house sit someone's fancy apartment, and they drink some wine, and the guy says to them, oh, you can drink this cheap wine over here, don't touch this antique stuff, as in like 100-year-old antique wine. He's like a dealer or seller or whatever, collector, and they accidentally drink the wrong one and get drunk, and they drink more of it, and then they're doing an homage to like the 1930s like Universal Frankenstein movie, where they're trying to, it's like a horror all of a sudden, all the elements, they're trying to recreate this bottle of wine instead of making a body of Frankenstein, it's a bottle of wine. He starts getting stuff from the garden and getting all these things, trying to like squish grapes, and it's like this absolute like mad episode.
It's a fantastic episode. And, you know, while I've never went to the trouble of, you know, going to those lengths to try and like make wine, I definitely had in my youth on a couple of occasions had to replace like expensive stolen booze with like cheap plonk, so like the people wouldn't
like,
notice.
Tip this into the other bottles. Like...
Yeah, essentially, yeah, and just praying that they don't notice when they take a drink from it, like later on, you know. But no, a fantastic show, a fantastic premise, fantastic actors, and just it's going to be it's probably something we can say about a good few of the shows that we're talking about today. For whatever reason, a lot of the BBC Channel 4 old ITV comedies, they're pretty easy to find on YouTube, both officially and unofficially. For whatever reason, the British Broadcasting Corporation is kind of lax with taking down copyright material.
Yeah,
so
less litigious than American and Japanese rights holders or whatever.
So just yeah, and just to kind of, I suppose, to push that message out there that there is if you're not familiar with the shows and you're kind of looking through your American Netflix or whatever, and you're not seeing some of the stuff we're talking about or any of the stuff, probably, yeah, just flick on YouTube. You'll most likely find full episodes after a couple of searches if you're interested.
I don't know in the USA if they have BritBox, but that's an app here. You can get a lot of British stuff on that. It's like a streaming app just for classic, you know, and modern British shows. Yeah, I got to see Dylan Moran live in Melbourne when he came over there, and me and my brother got tickets. We've both seen Billy Connolly live together, and we saw Dylan Moran live, and Arj Barker also went with my brother. But when they announced it was coming, like, straight away we're like, no, we definitely want to go. I think your mum might have already seen him previously, but me and my brother both bought tickets, and we said we're definitely going. And we mentioned on the same day at the same time, we're in the house like, oh, we're getting tickets, and there's my mum and stepdad and sister. Are you guys going to go? They're like, we're not sure what we're doing. Don't know. They end up buying tickets a week later to like the same night, same everything. But because they bought them several days later, we met them and saw them outside before we went in, and then we went out because it was seated in completely different areas. If they bought them on the same day, we could have all sat together.
Was he doing like a big venue, or was it more like
setting?
Or
I don't know the names of the venues in Melbourne, but it was one that like where they have the comedy festival every year, and like loads of as well as individual touring comedians like Billy Connolly and all that, and you know, the big ones. It's a big, massive like theater, and there's like, it's like one of those ones that look like the opera. You've got the multiple levels and the little boxes and all that, and if you're on the top, you're kind of peering down, seeing the top of someone's head, and if you're down the bottom, you're like, it's really wide, like a big seashell arc that goes around. So no matter where you are, you get a really good view.
I'm glad he's popular enough then internationally to draw the big crowds. That pleases me. I like hearing
he
that.
Was beloved. Everyone just loved it so much. People were like, when you saw them walking out of the venue afterwards, people were just like beaming, big smiles on their faces and that. And I like when he starts talking about all the bloody the cigarettes and booze and junk food. And it's like, oh, don't do this, and your doctor says, and it's like why? We like stuff that's bad for us. We like it. What cigarettes and what booze?
I'm straight. He speaks a lot of truth. Now, I unfortunately have never watched him live. My wife has attended a couple of his shows, and it's a big fan of him as well. I think, yeah, it was actually back when we first started going out, like way back in the day. She was actually the one who introduced me to Black Books. It was just, I think it had just ended in 2004 or something like that when we started going out, but the reruns were on TV constantly. So from about 2005 onwards, me and her and I would have watched the show a lot together. Just a quality comedy show all around. Hilarious.
It's funny too, because there's lots of shows I've watched over the years, and like Seinfeld I watched with me missus. But also when it was first run was when I was in high school. So my mates in high school used to always talk about that. Black Books I watched with my mum's side of the family. When I was a kid with dad, it would be like David Bowie concerts and Queen and Monty Python and stuff on VHS and that. But the other big one from back then, this is going back before 2000, back in the 90s, we had Father Ted. I got to see this on the original run on TV in New Zealand, and this was like, everyone loved the show, man. It was so popular. And it was such a weird show, but like, I think it really hit a chord in New Zealand because, I mean, Ireland and New Zealand, they're both island type nations with, I mean, the population's bigger now, but compared to the bigger countries, America, Australia, bloody, Ukraine and Europe, a lot smaller populations and bit more folksy and like, eccentric characters and stuff and kind of very, very relatable.
Yeah, I think the wildest thing about Father Ted is that even though it was made in the 90s, it looks like it's from the 70s. And it kind of almost feels sometimes like it's from the 70s as well. And it's one of those things. It was such a specific premise that's so relatable here in Ireland that you would kind of wonder, like, how could this be popular outside of Ireland? But it proved just to be a massive, massive hit. Whether you lived on a small island dominated by the Catholic Church or not, you could still appreciate the comedic genius at play. But for over here, it is extremely rare to come across somebody who doesn't like the show. Usually it's people who are kind of quite young. They are just living a different life now. So maybe a lot of the stuff on the show that was funny to people of a certain age just isn't funny to them. But for the most part, anybody you meet who's, watched television and lived over here, they just absolutely love the show. And rightfully so. It was fantastic. It was like appointment viewing when it was on live. And even as it just got continuously reran and replayed, everybody still watched it. It always continuously got really high ratings over here. It's still extremely popular to the point where instead of actually broadcasting the Eurovision this year, we over here, our national broadcaster just instead broadcasted the Father Ted Eurovision episode. So
that's right. That's fantastic.
We were boycotting the event anyway, so why would we bother showing it? So yeah, we'll just watch the Father Ted episode instead. And it's a fantastic, fantastic show. It's a very clippable show because it's great for I've often kind of sent clips of it to my American or Canadian buddies who have absolutely zero context or knowledge about what it is I'm sharing with them, but you'll just share with them one clip of Dougal doing something stupid or, and it's that kind of universal
BBC
laugh
sound
out
effects
loud
volume 2.
Yeah.
And
it was such a quality show. And it's they may not be as familiar to you as they would be to us, but it's a great display of Irish television and comedy talent because there's a lot of people come through the show and make appearances on the show throughout the 3 seasons. That's actually one thing maybe I should mention now. Only 3 seasons, which is a pretty short run for a very popular show.
It's almost like that
considering,
kind of ITV formula or whatever. It's like the 3 weirdos and who are kind of socially unpopular, lower, they're not high income earners, the same kind of thing. An IT Crowd, Black Books, Father's Head, you got the gang of 3 who are the outcasts that no one wants to be these people. We're not like watching Seinfeld and Friends. You think, oh, I'm jealous, they're wealthy and popular. No, they're unpopular, they're not wealthy.
It's the type of show that if they had pitched it, or if it had been made, say, 10 or 15 years earlier than it was, it probably would have been banned in Ireland. Because the Catholic Church in Ireland really did have a strong influence on society up until I would say things started to wane maybe in the late 80s, early 90s, but they were still quite a presence, in the country. If they tried to release something like this, say back in the 70s in Ireland, it would have been just outright banned. The government probably would have banned it just to appease the church.
I don't even think
that
about
was
that,
just
but
the
like,
way it was.
you're spot on there. Like it's a comedy with great writing, great performances, and there's bits of it are wacky, but there's bits of it are really spot on satire that really like in the face of the church that, as you said, they couldn't have got away with earlier. You could even call it like a deconstructionist show, really, as far as like the old traditional values and what was the, the ruling class of the church. There's so much stuff that's just at the expense of like, basically showing the church is turning out these degenerates, but even they are making fun of the church, going, "Oh, it's bloody awful! You're stuck here and can't get out of it. And what else will we do?"
And they can be rightfully harsh on the Catholic Church, because look, I'm officially a Catholic or whatever. I like most people born down south, but I don't give a shit about the Catholic Church really. Like it means nothing to me. Like as I live my life as a modern person, but like, yeah, there were like let's just say like a vocal maybe cohort of like ultra religious people in the mid-90s that were still against like a show like Father Ted coming out. Like I think
I imagine they would be.
like
It's
one
like
of
the
my
nutters
mates,
against 80s cartoons that are like selling
yeah,
toys to
yeah,
children.
they were kind of just they thought it was an attack on the religion, which it was, but it's also comedy, so lighten
Yeah.
up a bit, like is all I'll say to that. And that's the beauty of comedy, though. You can poke fun at anything, you can make fun of anything. If people get offended along the way, well, shit happens.
I
But
think
there's
you'd have to be really conservative to get offended at the stuff of the show because it's all very tongue in cheek.
completely, and
Yeah, there's a lot
it's
of real
very
stuff
of
like
the
Father
time.
Jack. Like we've all met people like Father Jack who are just like terrible fucking raging alcoholics and just fucked in the head, like just a complete degenerate.
Oh, completely. And even though it's obviously like it's the Catholic Church because it's set on Craggy Island, that part of Ireland and all that stuff, but a lot of these tropes could be applied to most organized religions. Like no matter what religion, you're still going to get these type of people and characters showing up no matter what the faith is or what country it is. It's like you said, there's just everybody, I think, kind of knows somebody like these people in real life. But it's such a, like, it was so of the time, the episode I was watching recently, it's the one about there's the milkman. He's going around banging all the local women on his
Yeah,
milk run,
do
and
it on your doorstep, young banger.
and
Stickers on
there's
his milk float.
there's a complaint made against him, so he loses his job as the local milkman. So Father Dougal takes over the job as
Yeah,
milkman. So
and then it becomes a parody of Speed with County
it becomes a
Reeves.
parody of Speed because there's a bomb attached to the milk float, and if
The
it goes
bomb
over
of the boss father.
if it goes over 5 miles an hour, it'll explode. And it's just like hilarious fucking Irish take on Speed, essentially. Just
And I love their
when they're
solution is like they get the brainstorm with some other priests and they do like the montage where it's meant to be like hours and hours and hours going, we're doing this and scribble ideas and cross them out. It's like, we agreed the best idea is to do a mass. So they get in the back of a tractor and a trailer and have the whole desk and the doilies and the candles do a mass.
Yeah, it's such a, and it's some, it's the type of ridiculous thing that the back in Catholic Church probably would come up with as a solution to a problem like that.
Yeah.
We'll give him his last
the,
rites.
The milkman guy, like Pat Mustard, that puts the bomb on the bus. He's on this like payphone that's like outdoors somewhere, and he just starts talking to them. And Ted's like, "Oh my god, a bomb!" And he just drops the phone and runs away and starts panicking. And they cut back to the guy later. It's like over hours later, he's still standing on the phone. His dark song going, "Oh yes, Father, I'm gonna get my revenge on you. Oh, I can't stand you." He's still just standing there for hours talking.
Right up till the very, very end when the milk float actually makes it
I
that
think the milk
far
float
and
crashes
actually
into the phone booth and blows it up. He gets blown up by his own stupid bomb. And the brick
brilliant.
comes into it, like the Father Jack has a pet brick at the start of the episode. He's like, "I love brick," and it's like a pet. And Ted's like, "Oh, it's great." He doesn't have to feed it, doesn't have to do anything. And this one time you see Father Jack acting like affectionate to something other than alcohol, and he gets this look like he's holding a cat and stroking it. Then he goes, "Fed up with brick," he throws it across the room and hits someone. And then it's in the middle of the floor. They keep tripping on it. And then in the third act, they're like, wait, he gets the idea to use the brick to put it on the pedal so he could, the priest can jump off the milk float. So the brick like saves the day.
Hilarious stuff, man. And you know, we spoke a little bit about Bernard Black's alcoholism and black books. It ain't nothing compared to what Father Jack is capable of putting down on a daily basis. Like, he'll drink toilet duck, toilet cleaner, anything he can get his hands on with a bit of alcohol in it. He'll drink like your shimmy, sham, sign, cleaning spray, anything he can get his hands on. There's a fantastic episode where Father Jack, it's gotten to a point where they can take him no more, so he's actually replaced and he's sent off to an old priest's home, and they get in a new priest to replace him. And the new priest who replaces him, Father Fenton Stack, he's way worse than Jack, like 10 times worse. He drills holes in the wall while listening to like rap music late at night, you know, smoking loads of cigarettes.
And he's real stocky. He looks like a mafia bodybuilder guy. He's real stocky and round and tough looking, like a gangster.
Oh man, he's such a great character. Yeah, literally wears like a chain around his neck and stuff, you know, carries a boombox, you know.
Yeah, he's like, am I bothering your father? What are you gonna do about it?
I've had my fun, and that's all that matters. After crashing Ted's car, you know, like
he's such a complete prick, and he's so awful that they want to get Jack back because at least he's like the familiar degenerate that they could live with.
Yeah, better the devil that you know is definitely the message of that episode. The guy who plays Fenton Stack, he's a phenomenal comedian, Brandon Grace. You know, he does a lot of great stuff. But yeah, that episode, it could possibly be my favorite Father Ted episode because he's such a bollocks of a character, and he just causes absolute chaos in the house. Even Mrs. Doyle can't deal with him, you know.
Yeah, I love when they try and get Jack back at the end, and they go to like the priest detox how it's full of all these other old priests, and they've just been chucked in this place that no one wants to deal with, and they're like senile and going blind and deaf and all that.
It's so good, and I think they kidnapped the wrong priest or something. They get the wrong guy.
Yeah, they grab the wrong guy
in with him, and
eventually they manage to get Father Jack back again. And the other new priest is like thinks he's all tough and he's got to hit him, but then he finds out. They just tell him that he's been drinking his booze, and Jack's like, "What?" He goes off.
If anybody is looking to watch full episodes of Father Ted, if you search for Hat-Trick Comedy on YouTube, that's the actual name of the studio.
Yeah, I'll chuck a link in the description as well.
They have an official YouTube channel, so you can actually watch the episodes in full, which is, you know, a great thing. And I don't know, I'd highly recommend it to anybody who hasn't watched it as a show. It's just so much fun. It's so much fun.
Yeah, like I've watched these so many times. Like I've just watched them over and over again, and like I've known friends from high school. We used to watch them talk about it, and if it was repeats and same. I got these on DVD and digital, and I just keep rewatching them over and over. It's funny too that all the house and decor and all that. Like I've been in houses in the 90s in New Zealand that look like that. If you go down to the south, there's like old TVs and bookcases, the crochet cushions and the mats and the furniture stuff that looks just like this sort of stuff. Like that looks like it's from the 70s because a lot of it was from the 70s. It's just still in houses.
Exactly. Yeah, even though, like I said earlier, the show was made in the 90s, but it does look like the 70s. And yeah, the truth of the matter is, a lot of like my granny's house would have looked kind of similar to what we're looking at now, like that type of wallpaper, that style of rug and stuff. It was just
you go to smaller, poorer countries, and people of a certain generation, it's like they don't have money to redecorate their bloody house every 10 years like some people do. So it'll be 20 or 30 years old stuff in it. And
but the world of Craggy Island that they make for this show, like it's so full of like colorful characters and
the weird locals.
Mary and John,
the guy that's got the twitchy eyebrows, and he's clearly got some kind of disability, and he's possibly a serial killer as well.
Yeah, this is is a Mary and John, the couple who are always trying to kill each
Yeah.
other unless
You
there's
always try to
somebody
kill
around
each other.
and
It's
then
like,
they
you
act
bloody
really nice.
bastard! It's like they work at the shop and they pretend to be all nice, like, oh, I love you. As soon as they walk away, they're like literally trying to kill each other like some kind of like slasher film. And they're swearing. I love the swears they get away with in the show. They're very creative.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, a fantastic show. I highly would recommend it. I could probably spend like most of just this episode talking about it, but I'm not going to just. Maybe
Yeah.
someday we'll do like we could do like a top 5 favorite Father Ted
Oh,
episodes.
easy. We
You could
definitely
probably
do a
you
Father
could probably
Ted
say
special.
that with a lot of the shows we're going to talk about though today, because
Easily.
there's so much good we couldn't possibly cover it all.
Yeah.
In one sitting.
We'll take a look at another show. I'll just mention one of my favorite ones is where they get stuck in the caves and they get lost in the caves. And the guy from that show, I think it's like 1 foot in the grave. Like, I don't believe it. That guy. They see him, and people keep saying that catchphrase to his face. That show was real popular. Like my grandparents used to watch that show, that 1 foot in the grave, beyond when we're having like Sunday dinner and that. And people would say it to his face so much in the Father Ted version, he'd get pissed off and hit them, and then they get lost in the caves. And it has the other I think it's Graham. Someone he has a like chat show that's been on for years.
Yes.
Yeah, he starts singing the Queen song. He's like, Beelzebub has a devil put aside for me. Drive everybody nuts, singing Bohemian Rhapsody at the top of his lungs. And these caves that echo everywhere.
He's hilarious in that episode. He's like, "You're going on my list of
He's
enemies,
great.
Tony."
He's so good. He's so over the top and enthusiastic. And
quality. And a brilliant episode as well. That entire Caves episode is just fantastic.
And it's great that they got the guest star of I don't know the name of the actor, but the 1 foot in the grave guy was in the show. Is like a good guest.
Oh yeah. Now we actually are in the 70s.
Yeah. I got the DVDs about 2 weeks ago. I now own. If I didn't have any of these, I now got the complete run of the show on DVD. Got it really cheap as well.
Fantastic show. Ran for a very long time in comparison to some of the other shows we're looking at today.
Yeah, only Fools and Horses had a good long run. It was on forever, and like when I was a kid, this was just always on repeats for years, and like right through the 80s into the 90s, it was just always on repeats.
It's wild. Well, maybe it's not that wild, but it's interesting kind of, and it's especially kind of obvious today chatting about this stuff. There's so much crossover between Irish and British stuff and New Zealand and Australian stuff when it comes to just cultural things
the earliest TV in Australia and New Zealand was pretty much nearly, or at least majority British before we started getting more American stuff here. Like, and a lot of people, like if actually talk to my dad, he's not like stubborn about things as far as comedy, he doesn't really care, but he's like, to him, British is comedy. He doesn't even consider anything from America to be comedy. He's just like, he's like, well, the British make comedy stuff. America just makes stuff that's rubbish and not funny. That's like, he would not catch him watching Seinfeld or Friends or it just wouldn't appeal to him. Where he'll watch this or Python or stuff like that.
And you've kind of put it in my head now. The Americans actually did try to do an Only Fools and Horses, didn't they?
Did
And
they?
it just fucking.
They've done so many bad remakes. They did a what's the one with the men behaving badly with Martin Clunes, and the American version had bloody Rob Schneider. That was awful. And I like Rob Schneider, but it was still an awful show.
Yeah, Del Boy, real wheeler dealer. He'll sell you anything. Yeah. He could sell snow to an Eskimo. He could sell sand to an Arab. Just count your fingers on each hand after any deal you make with him.
He'd sell an oxygen tent to a sick patient in the hospital with their last breath.
Yeah, Del Boy and Rodney could possibly be the best comedic duo of not of the era, maybe of all time for British comedies. They're
so good. Like I love that these shows they've got fantastic writing. The budget's clearly small, but that's one of the things I love about it. It makes it work. It's like bloody Doctor Who and all that. It's like the barest minimum sets and some on location stuff, and it's all about really good quality writing and really good character performances. And even when you see them on the flat and all that, it feels cramped. It's a little bit bigger because obviously they're filming with, you know, cameras and whatnot. But it's got that feel of just a real pokey little crummy flat that we've all been in, or some of us have lived in at different points of life. You don't really want to be there, but it's where you can afford. Or and you know, just like the grandfather watching the old TVs and the furniture that's falling apart. There's like shit everywhere. There's a bit of a wheel and stuff stacked up and junk. I've seen so many places like this. It's very real. That's one of the things I like about these sort of working class British comedies, as they feel very real and lived in worlds. And we've all met or lived in places like this or known people, and you know.
Yeah, like I said, it is actually made in the 70s, but it still looks very similar to Father Ted with that wallpaper and general decor. Yeah, every setting here, like obviously like the flat's gonna like one of their main stages for the show, but even down the local pub, all the kind of ancillary and additional characters like Boise, like it's such a rich show for just the world that they create. And it's kind of a little bit like when I was saying with Father Ted and Craggy Island, like you can believe that all these characters really do exist within not just this world, but they could exist in the real world. Like even though we're seeing kind of maybe stereotypes or caricatures in some ways, we still do kind of, well, at least I have in my experience, I have ran into people like this who will literally sell you stuff down an alley. You know, oh, you know, well, we got some stuff off the back of a lorry, you know.
I don't know what age David Jason is in the show without looking it up, but he's one of those people that he never looks young. It's like he's born old, and then you see him because he's been in this, he's been in open hours, Touch of Frost and all that. But he's the youngest you're going to see him, you know, at a show here. But when they go down the pub or the club and they're hitting on some birds, he's like, you know, way too old to even near them. But you've all seen that guy who's just a bit too old. He's like, you know, 40 plus, and he's hitting on people in their 20s, and he's trying to dress up a bit, and look dapper, and it's like you're not fooling anybody, Granddad.
I love Dal boys who will look in style, man, and like, you know,
he does actually look very stylish when he dresses up. He does actually look classy. Yeah.
See that sovereign ring he has in that middle picture there. I have a ring very similar to that, which I don't wear it every day, but it's one of my favorites. Yeah. I love me some big gold bling. You know, I definitely must have a little bit of Dal boy in me, bit of the trotter in me. The car as well, the three-wheeler, was such an iconic vehicle for its day too.
Is it made for
you'll actually still
like,
see
small places?
Pretty much, yeah. They used to be. I think I looked it up before, or maybe it was on a documentary on the DVD. They were actually
like deliveries or something.
A known type of car, yeah. It was a special type of like delivery van or something small for getting around.
It's so weirdly narrow. It's got to be going down small streets or something.
But you will find, even over here, and I'm sure plentiful in Britain as well, you know, those type of businesses they'll have like the Ecto 1 or the DeLorean or stuff like that from famous TV and movies, but they'll often have this Only Fools and Horses van as well as part of their lineup of like famous vehicles. I don't know what it would feel like.
It's so beat up as well.
Front wheel. Completely knackered.
Apart from the three-wheel thing, it reminds me when I was a kid at my dad's place that half the time it would look like a fucking car graveyard, because if one car he's driving, another one he's working on, another one's in storage for a mate who's supposed to be paying him, but he probably hasn't bloody paid him to store it then, so it's just fucking sitting there for 5 years on the lawn. And so they'd always be switching from one car to another every couple of years, and it was just like car graveyard. But you know, they get that look to them where they work, but they're kind of shitty looking, you know.
Yeah, they're like they're practical for what you need them for, but they look like shit. Yeah. You know, exactly. They're not pretty.
Like anytime when I was a kid, I'd like walk somewhere to school or ride my push bike, and Dad was always working. I not these helicopter parents today where they were dropping them off at school and shit. No one ever fucking dropped me off at school. It didn't happen. I just walked there or ride my push bike. But if there's ever a time where he offered to take me somewhere, there's like, yeah, no, I'm good. I'll just ride my push bike. It's kind of embarrassing. You don't want to be getting dropped off for these vehicles.
And you know, they just Dal boy especially, but you know, Rodney too. You know, they just want what's theirs. You know, and you know, they're just gonna Del Boy especially, you know, you're going to do whatever wheeling and dealing you need to do to get to where you need to be, and with the goal being eventually, you know, we're going to get out of this situation. You know, we're going
Yeah,
to
it's quite
better ourselves.
relatable and tragic too. Like when there's little bits of the background where it's like the mother was like quite young or whatever, and then the father took off, and then the mother did the mother was she's dead or just gone? I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember whether she just
She's
left
either
or she
dead or
died.
missing or something, but like they basically had to like raise themselves from a very young age. And like, I've met people like that have missing parents or lost someone to disease or alcoholism or just negligent parents who were just never home, so you're always by yourself.
When they make character switch, kind of like, I think, is it early on? Is it their granddad that lives at them with the start, but then they change it to Uncle
Yeah.
Albert? There's
Yeah, I'm not
definitely
sure. It's
they
definitely
make a
Granddad at the
switch.
start because I just watched first season.
Yeah, yeah, they make a switch later on where granddad brother gets, I think, switched out with Uncle
Uh-huh.
Albert. It's the same dynamic more or less. It's just, you know,
Mhm.
the older person in the house essentially. But yeah, because
I
that's
just
the only
watched
other
the
real
end of
Potter
season
family.
one's the Christmas special, and like the granddad cooks the Christmas dinner, and he's like, and they're all dreading it because he can't cook, and he goes, and Del Boy's like, oh, it's tradition. He's been doing it for how many years? And then Ronnie's like, yeah, and he's been cocking it up for that many years because he burns everything to a crisp. It's completely edible. He cooked up a big roast bloody bird, like, I don't know, chicken, turkey, whatever. But apparently there was a packet inside, a plastic packet with giblets, so you could take them out and feed them to the cat. And he didn't know it was in there, so it's got melted plastic through this burnt roast bird. And even the custard was like charred black soot.
Rodney's such an interesting character too, because obviously, like with Del Boy, he's like, well, he's the guy who's taken the lead and who's kind of the driving force behind a lot of
Yeah.
what they do. But Rodney, even though Del Boy kind of looks at him as like the kind of weak link idiot, like we as the audience kind of see, well, a lot of the time what Rodney's saying is actually like right. Like he's actually he's
he
correct
reminds
in
me of like
saying the thing.
reminds me of like Neil and the Young Ones if he was a more not demented person, a more normal person, a more healthy normal
Yes.
person who's like morally sane.
And he would be he would feel guilt more than Del Boy would over getting into certain situations. You know, he's definitely the I suppose the more morally adjusted of the two, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah.
But good old Del Boy, you know, he would do anything to spin a profit.
But I do
He's
like
just
that
that
it's
type of dude.
even though they do all sorts of dodgy stuff and selling things, it's really it's not about trying to treat anyone else badly. It's just about trying to survive and, you know, make a living and all that in a hard world. So I like that there's the family element to it, and the fact that the grandfather's there living with them, and even though he burns everything in the Christmas dinner, he still sits there and forces himself to eat it. Like how horrible it is.
And yeah, like they're really, you know, they may from time to time they might be, you know, dabbling in criminality or whatnot, but like, you know, at the end of the day, they are good people, and you know, like you said, they're just trying to make their way and do what they can, you know, to get by and to better their situation.
And I love the ongoing gag is that like he keeps buying all sorts of stupid, useless things, whether they're like, you know, super discount, like someone's, you know, stolen them or lost them or not accounted for inventory. So you think you're going to get a good deal when he's going to sell something, but he ends up buying just a lot of crap and losing money all the time.
And that's why their flat is such a hodgepodge mix of old and broken, but also new kind of tatty tat shit. That's just kind of like, you know, real like kind of trendy
like,
items.
So with my dad, it was cars. He was always working stuff on the garage, and he'd be working on cars for himself and for other people. Then he's doing odd jobs for other people where he's like a pattern maker, makes stuff out of fiberglass. So there'd always be bits of projects going back 5 years, 10 years, some finished, some unfinished, just everywhere. He'd be renovating bits of the bathroom that took 8 years because he didn't have the money to do it in one go. So it took 8 years and do a little bit. But there'd always be just stuff all over the place.
It was always like tinkering with something. So there was like a project going on.
Yeah. But you know, for the stuff he was doing as well as his full-time job, just not for fun, but just to bloody survive and not lose the house and all that.
I think anybody, even people who just in general, like if you live in a family where either in a situation like Johnny just described, or maybe you like parents possibly running like a small family business, you'll often find in your home where you're living, you're going to have like stock just randomly sitting in the kitchen, or there's just going to be stuff like that, going on. But that's the real world, and I think that's why in a show like this, you're not going to have just like a clean looking set where everything is just, looking perfect and unlived in. Like we need that
I'm
kind of
amazed
gritty real world.
the apartment, the flat, whatever, it's in the high rise. It amazes me that's actually set dressing all that stuff, because it looks like a real. I mean, it is obviously it's a set and building whatever, but all the stuff is like real world objects and things. But someone set dressed that, and it looks like they could have just walked into some real apartment, just started shooting. Like someone was very skilled to dress the set, because I've seen so many places like that in real life, and I still see them there at work in aged care. Occasionally go to people's houses where it's people don't have good mobility, they can't move a lot of stuff, so things just sit where they leave them, or some of them are hoarders and clutterers and that, and it's just like gets like real messy and stuff. It's very amazing set dressing, and it looks like they could have just walked into some actual crummy apartment with stuff everywhere, just like started filming there.
100%. Yeah, it's it looks as real as anything. It looks lived in, like that.
One of my favorite lines in the first season, the granddad who's always watching these TVs, and they're not even on crates. Like I've had a TV on a crate with a share housing, or a PlayStation on a fucking milk crate, and but they're just, if you look at it, it's just piles of bits of stuff. Like if I got me boxes of books and things just stacked up and precariously balancing on there, and he's watching two TVs both on the same channel, and the picture. The color temperature slot, one's a bit blue, one's a bit red. They're both kind of not quite right. And there's one where Del meets this old missus who wants to marry him again, basically to rip him off and get dodgy life insurance policies on him. And she comes in and she goes, "Why is he always watching those two TVs?" And he turns around and goes, "Because one of them broke." So he's watching three TVs all on the same channel. And they never explain why he's watching multiple TVs. It just does.
He's trying to make a 3D vision, with the red U and the blue U.
Yeah, maybe it's his eyes. Maybe like one watches one watches the other one. Actually, in the Christmas one,
there's slightly lower than the other.
Rodney doesn't like the circus, and there's all this like, I don't know, Cirque du Soleil crap that's on TV on the Christmas special, and he's like, "Turn it over," and there's more bloody circus stuff on the other channel.
Peep show.
So you got to tell me about
this show,
this one, because unlike the other shows and we've talked about, and like there's shows you and me have both seen that are not well known, I've never seen the show nor heard of the show until you've mentioned it, and then I looked up and saw it was really long running as well, like ran for like about 9 years or so.
That's right, and luckily enough, there is an official, I believe it's through the Channel 4 YouTube channel, the British Channel 4
I had a couple of clips this week, so at least I had some idea about it.
Yeah, you can watch the full seasons. They actually don't even bother, I don't think, breaking them up into episodes. You can just literally watch, full season 1, full season 2 in one long form. But Peep Show, the premise is very simple. It's literally two flatmates living together that are a bit of an odd couple. You've got Jez and Mark. Mark is very kind of uptight and serious, and Jez is just like a stoner, druggy type guy. So, perfect odd couple situation. What makes the show unique and why it's called Peep Show is it's filmed from the point of view of the character that's kind
is
of
that what it is? I couldn't work it out. Yeah,
so when
there's a lot of inner monologue stuff and all that and voiceover.
Yeah, and you'll often see, so if Mark is thinking, you'll hear what he's thinking. You'll also see the camera angle of what's supposed to be his field of vision. So you know what he's looking at and what he's taking in. And that's what kind of makes the show really unique, because a lot of the comedy kind of isn't in what people are saying to each other. It's what they're thinking about the other person without saying it, and that's kind of like the genius of it. It's like there's there's the version of you that you put forward into the world, but then there's the true version of you that only you know about in your mind, you know. And so it's like you'll have like Mark there shaking hands with the boss and work and kind of kiss ass, and but in his head you can hear him saying like, "Well, you're a fucking prick. I fucking hate you," you
Yeah.
know, or you know, what are you going to do when I walk into the office someday with like a fully loaded machine gun? You know, stuff like that's going through his head the whole time, like he's kind of smooching. And it's such a damn funny show. Like I first kind of found out about it by accident, like a random episode of the first season. I think it was towards the end of the first season, just aired. You know, I happened to come across it one night during college, but I was just like, I was instantly hooked. There was just something about it that, you know, the two main characters, you may not point to either one of them and say, oh well, you know, I'm like that guy or I'm like the other guy, but there is enough kind of elements of truth between the two of them where I think if you
Yeah.
watch the show long enough, you'll kind of start going, you know, this is actually the way people think in certain situations, depending on the
Yeah.
type of
And is
person,
it
you know.
I've only seen a bit of the first episode and a couple of clips, but I got in a vibe kind of similar to Spaced, where it's like definitely like people in their 20s, like going out in the world, like might be first jobs or early relationships and stuff. So they're all a bit dysfunctional and trying to kind of figure shit out in the real world.
Yeah, it's 100% that. If I'm not mistaken, I believe the backstory is that the two main characters, Mark and Jez, they'd actually originally gone to college or met in college, but now it's years later, and one has like gone on to become like a working professional and a kind of straight shooting dude, whereas his mate from college is still like a kind of stoner,
Yeah,
wants to
like
be
remember in
a musician.
there's kind of set up in Shaun of the Dead. It's like the two, you got the two guys who used to be mates, well the three used to be mates, but ones are gone on to be working, the other one's still unemployed, sitting around playing PlayStation video games all night. And that Peter Serafinowicz is like, sort your funking life out in the like PG
Yeah,
version of Shaun of the
yes,
Dead.
yeah,
It's
very
like, there's
very
my mate.
similar vibe. Yeah, a
Yeah.
totally similar vibe to that, and it's one of those shows like where the more you watch it, the kind of more equity it builds with you, because
Mhm.
you do genuinely get to know both characters extremely well because you can hear their thoughts. So by the time you get to like the third or fourth season, you've just got a real kind of crystal clear kind of picture in your mind about how these two dudes operate. And you know, like I was saying, while you might not definitively relate to either one of them, there's elements of both of them that, you know, if you were to combine the two together, you'd probably pretty much get the real life thoughts of a complete human being, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, I was surprised this. So like, I know a lot of British comedies and stuff like 70s, 80s, like, even some of the 90s ones, and you know the bloody Dad's Army and all that sort of thing. But I can't believe I've never heard of the show, so I don't know if it probably played in Australia at some point, I would think. But all the networks and stuff here are all kind of they're weird. It's like they're weird here, and then it's not like the same as like Britain and US where you got like your main. Well, you got your main channels here, but then in America you got HBO and cable and all that, and then in the UK they got a lot of homemade stuff, and then New Zealand, Australia, the same. They've got their own MIDI industries of film and TV that play, films, TV from here. So, but we also get the British stuff and we also get the American stuff. But sometimes it's really split up into different places, and things I'd see on one channel in New Zealand, like Channel One, would be we would see stuff that was your dad's and your grandparents. That would always be on Channel One, like British comedies, whereas stuff that was for the youth, like bloody Red Dwarf, that would be on like Channel 3 or Channel 4. That was aiming for the under 30 crowd and all that.
Yeah, it's one of those shows, Peep Show, and I suppose like even the name of it's probably not very TV friendly, but it's very adult orientated in the sense there's a lot of to do with, you know, drug taking, you know, racism, all the stuff, all the kind of ugly topics are all kind of there. It's probably not TV friendly in the sense you couldn't just run a big block of reruns of it during the daytime. It's more like a after Watershed type of
Yeah, it
show,
has
you
a
know,
bit
that
of
type
that
of way. Lots of
docudrama
lots of
feel to it, like
swearing.
The Office and that. And
Yeah, exactly. Which it's definitely another product of its time, of that type of you know, early to mid 2000s way of doing things. But yeah, it's you know, I can't even do it justice. But I would say to anybody, even if you want, like I said, complete seasons are uploaded or up.
Yeah, I'm
Loaded
gonna
on the official
I'm
YouTube
gonna watch
channel.
the first season this week. I was gonna watch some or next week rather, because I ran out of time this week. I was watching other stuff. So another
Oh yeah,
classic that I put one, because it's kind of in the back of my head when I thought of this topic last year. I was thinking kind of like top 5, top 6, like what are the favorite ones I keep coming back to over the years. So Monty Python's Flying Circus, it's which always been very popular in New Zealand and that, but kind of overshadowed in modern times by the various movie specials, both the actual movies like Life of Brian and Holy Grail, and then the other compilation ones, like, and now for something completely different, it's like a movie length version of sketches where some of them are redone on a bigger budget and, you know, more sets and outdoors and whatnot. And also they've had like live shows in America, and I think there was a bloody musical. There was a musical Spamalot. I think Eric Idle was involved in that, and who knows who he ripped off this time or who didn't get paid. They're all a bunch of infighting bastards these days that don't talk to each other.
yeah.
But they come up from the bloody universities, like what do they call them? The footlights. They come up through university comic experiences and met through there. Well, a couple of different universities. They didn't go to the same one. And of course, bloody Terry. Oh, is it Gilliam? Which one's the American one? Does the cartoons? Is it Gilliam?
Yeah.
Who went on to be a director in that?
Yeah.
Well, actually, both the Terrys went on to be directors as well. Terry Jones. But yeah, Flying Circus to me is still just like the best thing, because it's the most volume of Python. You've got the TV show, it's the original thing, but then you've also got the records that they released through the 70s, where they would have like a Mozart album, but it was all scratched and graffiti, and it was like, actually it's Monty Python's Greatest Hits Part 2 or something. But the records were awesome too. I used to listen to them as a kid. The TV show ran on repeats for years and years in New Zealand. I have early memories. I was age 7 of actually watching this on TV and just loving it. And it wasn't aimed at me. It wasn't aimed at kids.
That was the beauty of it, though, because it's a skit, or like, you know, a sketch. So you might watch one segment and not have a fucking clue what the humor even is, because you're so young, you just don't get it at all.
Yeah,
but then the next segment is like fucking, you're like rolling on the floor laughing, like, because there was a beautiful randomness to it as well. Watching it,
I like how it was probably one of the earliest shows. If you're familiar with modern, well, a lot of TV shows over the years, you have like, especially your American shows, we have let's say Megan P.I. You have the intro and the music and this happens, and then we go and do the show, and you have like an intro and a story. And then shows over the years have like gotten rid of credit sequences, or they just have a bit of music and it starts to get more out of the runtime and people's patience that want to watch intros and all that. But for cold opens and warm opens and whatever, they used to do a lot of stuff that really fucked with the audience, that it's not obvious on YouTube or DVDs. If you watched it in the original run, or even on repeat somewhat late at night, it would come on and you think it's like 11 o'clock news or something, and the guy's sitting there and he starts reading about news, but he starts talking a whole bunch of nonsense, and he throws a banana at someone, or someone busts through the set or whatever, and then it would go and then they would start playing the theme music. Or sometimes it would come on and be like the test pattern, or it would just be like, BBC Two would like to apologise about the previous sketch about farting ladies' bottoms on the BBC. There's not the sort of thing we should be proving of it. Stuff like that. They would actually use bits of BBC stuff like they would normally see, like fake trailers and promos at the beginning, middle, or end of the show, and they would cut away to shows within the shows, which young ones also did. There would be like a TV in the background. All of a sudden, they would zoom in on the TV. That would become the sketch that was going on. They did a lot of stuff that really just like fucked with people's expectations that I loved.
Oh, it was so clever and, like, you know, self-referential for that type of stuff. And it's I'm kind of like, I was trying to like rack my brain a little bit there. It's just not. You'll never kind of see this type of format of show again. I was trying to think of some type of a modern example.
It really comes from the live show format, like musical theatre and vaudeville and that kind of thing, but turned into sketch comedy.
There's a real kind of, I don't know, there's just something kind of, I like the random kind of, you don't know what's coming next format to it. I'd imagine it's the type of show where if you're trying to describe something you liked about it years ago, before like the internet and stuff, where you could just like pull up a clip. It must have been so hard sometimes trying to make reference to a particular sketch.
They've got their famous sketches, like the bloody, Dead Parrot sketch, which then goes into the Lumberjack song. Actually, that was a commercial in New Zealand for Minties, was the Lumberjack song, but they became a commercial on TV as well. And a lot of the sketches are just weird stuff that's parodying upper class British stuffy, tight upper lip culture, from the news to like formal events to interviews to like legal proceedings, TV shows. Where the image on the top right, where they're all dressed up as the old ladies and the hats and everything. That was some of their earliest audiences when they're in university doing these like review shows. Was these old like Mrs. Doyle tea ladies coming in because they couldn't get anyone in. It's like WCW in those like early days when they were trying to just shovel anyone in the door to watch this thing. They weren't really the audience, so that's where they got the idea from, to dress up as old ladies. I've read quite a few books and biographies about like the original Pythons and all that, and kind of been a lifelong obsession with like Python.
It's a real hodgepodge of, you've got all these young at the time talents kind of coming up there. Some of them already know each other from like the college system or whatever, but you've just got this big mix coming together. And, we'll see, like, John Cleese will go on to, do great things. Like so many even mentioned the Tarrys earlier as well. Like there's going to be lots of people who are attached to the show or involved with the show. They all kind of splintered off later on into like successful, solo
went into
ventures.
other performing arts careers and that. And
yeah, it was just a real nice kind of hodgepodge of talent just all around at the same time to kind of put something really clever together as well, which I think we should probably emphasize. Like when you're watching kind of each of these segments or skits or whatever, like there's obviously the laugh, funny, ha, but they're usually quite clever. Like they're well written, they're intelligent, especially if you're living.
Some of them are quite cerebral and go over your head, and you've got to kind of watch them again. And then some of them are just completely like physical comedy, like Upper Class Twit of the Year, where they like have to leap over stuff and then have to shoot themselves in the head.
Yeah, some real genius stuff. Now now it's years and years ago since I got it. I had it was more like a best of DVD as opposed to the actual full collection of episodes. I do think it's up on YouTube though. If you search, you can at least watch lots of the individual segments, even if you can't watch the full.
Yes,
show
I think some of
to finish.
there might be an official channel or something now, because I remember saw something a couple of years ago. Some of them realized how much they were getting watched on YouTube and not getting any money for it, and did something about it.
Yeah. An unfortunate trend of our times, and we got to milk these for all the money we can possibly squeeze.
Yeah, I have no issue with paying for stuff, but it's when it's organized properly, you can watch it. Like yes. I bought the DVD TV set was something that was possibly never going to exist. Like studios and stuff didn't want to really release stuff on DVD. It was consumer demand that eventually led to stuff like getting Bond box sets and Monty Python TV box set. I bought it the day it was released. Back when I was getting print Empire Film Magazine, I knew it was coming out in like 6 months. The day it came out, I zipped straight from work to Kmart and put it on lay-by. It was about, I think it was like $150 or something like that for the complete like 4 seasons, all the episodes. And I was excited and thrilled because I thought I would never own it, like ever. And back then, you couldn't watch stuff on YouTube like that. There was no streaming. There's no other way to watch the show other than random repeats that were not really on at the time, post year 2000.
And that's the thing, yeah. If you were dependent on the television schedule, then you were kind of fucked, really, if you missed something.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, I know we'll get to it when we get to it, but when I was picking up the Black Adders back in the day, like the reason I had to get the DVDs was literally because I don't think I could find, like, they weren't replaying them at the time in the early 2000s. There was no streaming, there was no YouTube. But yeah, if you wanted to get your hands on this, you just had to get your hard copy one way or the other.
Yeah, I only picked up
Blackadder goes for it.
I only picked up the Blackadder box set about a month ago. I've seen it so many times over the years on TV that I repeat a lot. I never even thought about it until this week, and I'm like, I should probably buy that, seeing as physical media's going away. I think I got it for like $30. It was all 4 seasons. I was like, great. And it was one case that just gatefold folds out, and it's got them all in there. And it's got some bonus bullshit discs as well. I haven't watched those yet.
Would you say that Blackadder Goes Forth is your favorite of the
I
iterations
think
of it?
it is, and I think when I was a kid growing up, there would always be the earlier ones on TV, like on repeats. And you know, when a show gets really popular and it plays for years, the earlier seasons become cheaper for networks to pay the yearly fee to rerun them on or whatever. So you always end up seeing the earlier seasons of long-running shows more than you do the later seasons, whether it's bloody Transformers or Peep Show or whatever. It's just cheaper to get that early stuff because it's been recycled so many times around the world in different markets. So Blackadder Goes Forth. If that was on TV, it's like, oh my god, that's on. Like, I remember, like my mate would be like, oh, it's on, but it's on at like it's like a school night, but it's on at 1 a.m. I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna sit up because I want to watch it
Yeah,
because I'm not gonna
you'll
see it
make that
otherwise.
sacrifice. But it's I'll say this about Blackadder. So like the first season, I always just thought, okay, it's okay, it's kind of funny. You know, Brian Blessed and you know, it's funny enough, and Rowan Atkinson's okay in it. But I think it's not until season 2 that the show really reaches its
Oh,
stride.
totally
And
agree. I think the first
I think
season
when you
is the
go from
weaker one. 2 and 3 just
yes,
really take off.
yeah, and like I think they just have a real golden run of 2, 3, and 4.
Yes.
It's just peak, real peak comedy. Rowan Atkinson is so goddamn funny. Like Edmund Blackadder, such a bastard. You know, he'll just do
Yes.
anything to get ahead. And it's like the total opposite of what we were talking about with, you know, the Trotters and Only Fools and Horses, where it's kind of like, yeah, they'll do what they need to get ahead, but they're still kind of good at heart. Whereas Blackadder, no matter what iteration of him you see, he's always just looking out for himself. He doesn't give a shit like what happens to anybody else around him, as long as he's the one who is, you know, profiting in the end and doing well.
Yeah, he's always a bastard. And the fun, I guess we should say, the fun gimmick of the show or seasons is that each season has basically the same cast and mostly the same characters, but in different time periods, or decades, or in some cases hundreds of years apart. But the theme is that Blackadder is each his own descendant or relative. So that's why he looks like the same guy and he's got the same Weasley attitude. And but he's always a bastard, always trying to get ahead, and he's a terrible person. I think the one thing in their favor compared to say like Del Boy and Father Ted is like Del Boy, Father Ted, they might be poor and not in a good desirable situation. However, the threat of death is usually not imminent around the corner in every episode, whereas a Blackadder it is. There's always a chance
Yeah.
in any episode he's going to be executed or killed, or he's in the war. So it kind of partly drives the character just to actually survive, like you know. So it kind of at least partly explains why he's such a bastard. It's like, well, if you as a threat of you were just going to die all the time, you'd probably try and do anything to get ahead and try not to die.
Yeah, and it's insanely like because the settings for all seasons are like they're dark historical settings. Like it's always something bad kind of going on in the background. But you know, it
You rubber
delivers
desk
its
jockey, Rick
comedy.
Mail calls it. Or
Yes, yeah.
Desk Johnny. You rubber desk Johnny.
It's and like Rowan Atkinson obviously brilliant in it, but you know, Tony Robinson, Hugh Laurie, like the supporting cast is fantastic as well. And they really
Yeah,
just
oh, they're
kind of
excellent.
all add to that mix just to make a really, really fun show.
There's
The
so many
seasons are always
callbacks to
pretty
like
short.
you know, plan so cunning you could stick a tail on it and call it or whatever. There's so many like callbacks to each season to like where they kind of one up themselves about these like silly gags and one-liners and clever innuendos and double meanings.
And it's funny because obviously, like, you know, a lot of the past of Blackadder you'll associate with going on to doing like, you know, other comedy stuff or other kind of, you know, that just that type of line of work. Whereas Tony Robinson, I think Tony Robinson is probably best known over on this side of the world for being the presenter of a show called Time Team. Have you ever heard of the show Time
No, I
Team?
don't know that one. I knew Hugh Laurie way back then from Fry and Laurie.
So
I didn't know Tony Robinson.
Time Team is a British archaeological show where they will go to different historical sites and basically just talk about the history of an area. Maybe sometimes there'll be like an active dig or excavation going on, and Tony Robinson will just be there and speak to the archaeologist. It was actually quite an interesting show. My wife was a a massive fan of it. I don't think they really do it anymore. He's obviously gotten a lot older, so he's probably not, fit to be gallivanting all over the country, going to, these monuments or whatever. But yeah, it's mad that the rest of them all kind of went the full on comedy big star route, whereas he was more like, I like the history aspect more than the comedic stuff, so I think I'll stick with that.
Yeah, that's kind of like in Python, Michael Palin, like he went on to do all the travel shows and the serious stuff because he was more interested in history and travel than more comedy stuff.
Yeah, fantastic.
Oh, I found
run.
I found the great insult in Blackadder Goes Forth, the fourth season, where it's during like World War One. There's an episode where Rick Mayall guest stars as a pilot, and he comes in and he's like he's pretty much like Ace Rimmer in the what's his name?
Gore.
My head's gone blank. Yeah, it's pretty much like that. He's completely cocky and over the top and thinking he's God's gift to woman because he's a pilot and he's like, he's the elite and the best and desirable, but he's just a complete idiot. And he comes in and he sees Blackadder. He's like, if it isn't Slack Bladder, it's like Slack Bladder. I just lost it when I had to rewind it and watch it again to hear what he said. And Rowan Atkinson does the best looks. Those looks of just like utter, just like disappointment and defeat on his face.
Yeah, his looks of like just disdain and disgust. He's got such good facial expressions. It's not surprising that he went on to have a big career with the Mr. Bean character, just doing facial expressions.
That's like my sister's obsessed, younger sister's obsessed with Mr. Bean. She was always watching that as a kid.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure my first introduction to him was actually probably Mr. Bean. I watched him way more Mr. Bean before I got a chance to see Blackadder.
I always saw that Blackadder as a kid and always on repeats in New Zealand. So I'd seen him for years and years. And they would play a lot of repeats sometimes when it got to be like away from the main daytime stuff. As shows got older, they would put them on at weird times, like Friday night, like 9 p.m. till midnight and 3 a.m. They would play a block of stuff. It might be like Hale and Pace and Blackadder and things like that.
Yeah, always in the wee hours of the night. They just don't want us younglings to be able to.
One of the old mates, we used to sit up on Friday nights and they were talking about it again at the school. And we were like, do you watch this one or that? What was on? And they would play like just good repeats of like just different classic stuff. Speaking of the classic stuff, I was rewatching first season of The Young Ones again today, and this is another show I've watched, I don't know, like 20 or 30 times. Every episode.
Such a goddamn good show. And maybe certain situations in this might be over the top, exaggerated maybe slightly, but I will say this as someone,
just bonkers.
Well, look, I have been a student myself. I have been around students living in house shares and stuff like that. I've seen people put their heads through walls and like jump through fucking windows and shit. Like, it does happen. But the only thing is, back when this show aired originally, I don't think the general populace was ready to know what these youngsters were getting up to. The controversy.
Yeah, it's very anti-establishment. If you watch it now, it seems like by tame or anything by today's standards. But for back then, it was kind of a bit controversial. But it was more, this is a show, it's like, it's like if you're a kid and you're 12 and you're watching RoboCop and Rambo and Terminator. It's not really for you, and it's not, but you watch it because you love it. It's like, this is for the younger people who actually want to see a fun, silly show. And anyone who's a bit more establishment or your parents or authority is going to be like, oh, this is disgusting. This is corrupting the youth. This is terrible. It should be bad. That sort of thing,
Yeah, they'll immediately notice the kind of lewdness of it, as opposed to, it actually is a very clever show though. For like, once again, it does it in a different style, but it's really good at just like taking the piss of contemporary life at the time.
Yeah. There's a lot of cutaways and fake shows within the show, and like stuff they do in Python, where it just randomly like stops the show and goes to two other characters that are in this adjacent building, or it might be heaven or hell or Narnia in one episode I just watched. And for 5 minutes, you're just watching a scene from like a completely different show, and then it goes back to that one again. Or Alexei Sayle plays the same character in every episode, except the twist is they're all related, and it's like they're all identical. This big family, that all him. He's a different character in every episode, but they're all the same, act the same. And the one I just watched, he's talking with his like crazy stupid accent. Everybody makes a completely stereotypical cliched accent, and he comes in, he's talking to them, and then he walks into the other room and he sits down on the chair and he's like, well, I'm just going to take a break now. I think the show is going pretty good now. Don't you what's going on with the lads and all this? And it's literally like, it's just like they've gone like cutscene. He's on a break, just talking to you as the audience. Yeah. And then it pans the camera and they're all sitting in the other room, just like sitting there having like half asleep, listening to him through the wall, like they're having an actual break in the middle of the show.
There's a shit ton of actual physical comedy though, in the sense like of literal like stunts, you could call it a lot of the time. You know, some crazy shit happens
through the building.
The
Neil falling down through the big hole where the bomb went, climbing into
like there's
graves that Helen Pace were digging.
Yeah, like wild shit like happening on the show, and like I never really looked into. You know, I'm guessing a lot of the cast just did their own shit because it's not like it had a massive budget, you know. So
no.
Yeah, like some of the stuff, I think as a youth watching it, I was just always, apart from the whole anti-establishment vibe, I just love seeing people like, you know, get fucked through walls or breaking glass or just busting up stuff, you know, just somebody like going wild, you know, like, you know.
I love that in the intro credits. It was weird. A lot of, because I watched a bunch of these shows again this week, quite a few of them, like Only Fools, Young Ones, instead of using like video footage, they purposely use still images, like high quality photos, like a slideshow, and then the theme song. But you see them at like university, so you know they're university students, but they never go to the university. Typical slackers that just skiving off. They're always in the apartment. They never pay the rent. There's never any food in the building. They're always fighting each other about who's going to get the last bit of food. Neil cooks lentils, but he's always tipping it on the floor and tripping over everything.
Yeah, they refer to it as like Scumbag University or something. You never even find out the name of it.
Yeah, like, they have the university challenge where it's like the Scum University versus the other proper one. And there's a lot of puppetry in the show. There's like food and gophers and rats and cats, little like puppets that like cut away do their own sketches and talk in the background.
Yeah, it's real like it's like a sensory stimulation overload sometimes, the episodes.
I love the theme song too. And do you remember in the first couple episodes, Rick Mail, who's meant to be an anarchist, but he's really like he's probably the most upper class character who's kind of slumming it, pretending to be an anarchist because he's not really, he's got no balls at all. He's just a coward. So he's just doing a performance of, you know, dressing up like I'm an anarchist. Yeah, university. He doesn't really protest or do much of anything. I've lost my train of thought. Oh, yeah, he talks about Cliff Richard all the time, and that's your first clue. It's like, yeah, you're really an anarchist if you're into Cliff Richard. And someone says something bad about Cliff Richard, he's like, actually, these lyrics mean something. He's talking about, you know. And then, but in real life, there was actually they had a Cliff Richard song that was I used to play on the radio that had clips of the Young Ones, bits of audio in the background. That was like a kind of like you'd call it a remix, I guess. It was just a song with bits of Young Ones clips added into it. But I used to hear that on the radio and be like, oh, it's the Young Ones.
Yeah, Rick Mail's character, he's a real he's a poser really is what he is.
Yeah,
like,
totally a poser, yeah.
Yeah. Or as the young people today would say, a LARPer. He's just cosplaying what he wants people to think he is.
But he's pretty spot on. Like we're with people like that. It's like,
oh yeah, yeah.
Like I'm really for this cause. And like, what are you doing for it? Nothing. It's just nothing.
Yeah. No, quality show.
I love how much destruction there is in the show and the sets, particularly of like Adrian Emerson as Vivian, like smashing his head through stuff. It was like, I've got something to tell you.
Yeah, I just love that.
I've got a secret. What is it?
That's what I loved about watching that as a kid. It was like you would see these just crazy feats happening, like, you know. And like I said, when I grew up later on, you realized, oh, a lot of students kind of are like this. You know, if you get the right mix in a house share, like, you know, maybe a bit closer to real life than we want to admit.
Yeah, they're very good. They're all kind of like loose archetypes and stereotypes and whatever, but they're very true to life, just exaggerated on that. And and then you just have all the crazy things going on in the background, having a party, or like it floods and it floods so much that the whole building's underwater. The first episode is like their building gets condemned and these blokes turn up from the council and start trying to smash the building while they're still in it. But then each episode just kind of resets back to the beginning again in the next episode like it didn't happen.
Is it the finale where they like drive the bus off the edge? Is that the final episode,
so.
or is that? Yeah,
like every episode kind of has a weird ending where something kind of goes bad or wrong, and then they just kind of, it's like a Looney Tunes cartoon. It just kind of resets on the next episode.
Yeah, they'll be fine. Don't worry, you know.
Yeah. Like in the first episode, Adrian Edmondson walks in carrying a severed leg. That's like from his car. He runs someone over, and the leg's still on his car. And then they have, I think it's episode 2 or 3. There's this terrorist attack, and they're watching the news, and they're going, "Oh, this is fake. It's all staged. Don't trust them." And it's happening right outside their house, so they don't even recognize it's Vivian's car. They're sitting live on the news. They're going, "That looks similar." It's like, "Oh, I've got a car like that, actually." And then these like Libyan terrorists or something run through the background behind their couch, and they're watching on TV and don't even realize it's happening.
No, I love it. I love it.
Yeah, it was classic. Yeah.
What about Space? Did you watch much Space?
No, not back when it was originally around. I never seen or heard of it. And I don't know if it played here on its original run. I only saw it years later through my family, through my middle. I've got a sister who's about 10 years younger than me. I've got one who's about 5 years younger than me. My middle sibling, they were actually watching it into it. And they're the ones that told me about it. So it was on DVD. I got to watch it the first time. I've never ever seen on TV. But I've had the DVD for years. And my one I imported from the UK or whatever, because it was old enough that you couldn't even get it at the stores here anymore. But thanks to my younger siblings, they're the ones that actually recommended me the show. We've watched them together a bunch of times. And I had no idea the first time I was watching it, the guy was going to be like working at a comic shop and stuff. And I'm like, oh, you can actually see the comics and stuff there. And it's like weird.
And that
usually
was like,
they avoid showing stuff like that on screen.
That character, like Simon Pegg's character in the show, that was kind of like my main draw to the show. Watching it for the first time was like, he's a nerd essentially, like he's one of us. And he works in that comic shop with Bill Bailey, and actual comics on display, tons of pop culture references dropped on the show continuously.
Like
it just felt like a real.
You get permission to show any of those now. You'd be in trouble if you showed.
Oh yeah, you'd be getting in trouble with Disney or whoever owns the IP. But for me, I don't know, Space, it just came at the perfect time for me because I was
I love that
my Star Wars fandom, you know. And
he's also a PlayStation gamer, like PlayStation 1 era and N64, because he's playing like Tomb Raider in one episode. And Resident Evil, you hear the actual sounds like the boom, like, it's the proper sounds, not like made up TV sounds. And there's one where I love where because the setup of the show, if no one's seen it, is that the main two characters pretend to be a couple so they can get this flat, which is a weird rule that someone can advertise their private thing for rent, but only to people who are a couple, because they don't want unemployed people. They don't want the young ones and students destroying the house, basically. So these two meet in the cafe, Jessica Hines and that. They meet up and decide pretend to be a couple so they can get this apartment and have a decent place to live. But the building like landlord, who's the lady there, the one is like, oh, I fancy that bride. Like that lady's always smoking and drinking. She's like a female kind of Bearded Black in a way. She's a bit of a weirdo. She likes, I heard that she thinks they're a couple. And anytime she comes to the door, they have to pretend like they're hugging or touching or kissing. But then she thinks they've had this big fight. It's like, how do you know they had the fight? Oh, I heard him going, stupid bitch, die. Why don't you just die now? And all this. And you think, what the hell is that about? If you're playing Tomb Raider and those horrible levels, and the later ones, we have these massive long falls. And I've played the game and yelled the same shit at the screen. He yelled at that scene like, you stupid bitch, I'm dying. So I got it straight away when she said it, even before they showed the footage of the Tomb Raider, what it was about.
There's a fantastic, there's a great kind of app. So it really spoke to me at the time because of how I felt at the time with what was happening as well. So when Simon Pegg actually watches The Phantom Menace and he realizes he fucking hates it, like a lot of other people realized in real life, and there's a great scene where he burns all his Star Wars collectibles, and he does it like in the way like that Luke Skywalker burns Darth Vader at the end of Return to Jedi, like just sets fire to a big fucking pile of his Star Wars stuff. It's just like, yeah, man, I know how you feel.
And I love when they
Bill
do
Bailey trying to reason with him, Oh,
yeah.
the Gungans aren't so bad. What about the Ewoks? And he's like, yeah, well, the Ewoks make the Gungans look like fucking Shaft.
And then there's one where he stays up all night playing, or our favorite one, Resident Evil 2, second one.
Yes.
He stays up all night playing that. And I think he's in like a beanbag or something. It's very, very true to life. And then the next day he's walking around like everything. It's like kind of like RoboCop vision. Everything's a zombie. And it's like, oh, I'm going to shoot the neighbor and all that. It's kind of like a prelude to Shaun of the Dead. And another one, there's a little dog called Colin that's like comes, I forget who it belongs to, that comes to live with them. But then the dog gets kidnapped by some weird facility or something. It becomes like a kind of Mission Impossible like spy movie kind of parody where they have to break into this facility and get the dog back.
And it's so good. Like there's a Northern Irish character in it called Tyres who shows up. He loves taking like ecstasy, but any type of beat
he's that
going.
Tall guy. He's always like,
yeah. And even like hearing like the traffic lights switching on the road, it starts getting
yeah, it's a classic. Yeah, the club culture stuff's real good in it too. It's got like the techno and raver kind of music in the background.
Yeah, a really good show, really of its time.
Actually, my
99
DVD version I have was one of the later ones where they do those gatefold. It's got the fancy artwork. It's actually got bloody the main dude as if he's like I'm terrible with Star Wars. It's done up like the episode 1 film poster where he's wearing the Jedi robe and he looks like a Padawan and all that. He looks like the Ewan McGregor version of the Star Wars character anyway.
Yeah.
On the cover.
I would say to people watching today of the stuff we've kind of spoken about, there's a decent chance that space might resonate with them a bit more just because there's a decent chance you've watched Shaun of the Dead or Hot Fuzz or any of those other more famous Simon Pegg projects, but space is really like a prelude to all of that. It kind of like a framework of the style of comedy that you'll see in those films. So if you like those films, you'll probably like
stuff,
this
and
show.
then it's got the lifestyle, relationshipy stuff of being the age and living, sharing apartments and all that. And
yeah, the shared living space and the all sorts of like the best type of comedic situations for fodder for these shows. Often in real life, it's like a miserable situation. Like I don't want to live in this fucking house share. I don't have to pretend to be like in a couple with some woman, but then like it's so hilarious to actually watch it in a comedic
but I like that
setting,
the building manager lady who they're always trying to hide the fact they're not really a couple. They still become friends with her and they're playing cards and drinking and sitting up, and so it's kind of, I like that you're seeing people of different ages and generations of this one building crammed together. And Brian's this weirdo artist. Oh, the guy from Little Britain, of course, isn't it? As the weird, like gay experimental artist dude who's always doing these weird shows and used to be friends with Brian. And now Brian's like jealous that his bizarre friend is having success in galleries and all this.
Yeah, it's once again, and it's nearly something we could say about pretty much everything we looked at today. There's an extra circle of like supporting characters that really make these shows, that make you feel like you're really in that world when you're watching them. It really helps with the overall experience of the thing.
I forget the name of the Little Britain guy. It's not the Matt Lucas, it's the other guy, the taller dude, but he's brilliant at it. He's so good.
One show that we open all hours, great. I wasn't even expecting this one.
David Jason double. No, finish your sentence. So, what was the show you're thinking?
I was going to say, we kind of mentioned the show briefly, and I'm not sure if we have it in the list today. But if it's not in the list today, what we'll do is later on down the line we'll dedicate a full episode to it. Red Dwarf.
Oh yes, no, we can definitely come back and do a special on that
because just it popped up once or twice in today's discussion, just because there's been some crossover with actors or styles or whatever. Great show, great comedy, and really, really damn funny. So, one of these days we'll have to dedicate a show to it.
I've just
noticed
I just noticed on the screen capture on the bottom there, where he's got all the signs, it says Kia Ora Drinks. That's like a New Zealand greeting. It's like, you ever notice it?
And yeah, in the UK and Ireland, we actually had Kia Ora. I'll send you. I will send you the old advertisements for it. Yeah, I didn't realize it was a New Zealand
thing over
thing.
there. That's weird.
Yeah. There was like a line of juice drinks called Kia Ora.
So it's a reverse import. Usually, it's the British sending stuff to New Zealand.
Oh, that sign there, Maid Marian canned drinks.
But this show I used to see as a kid, and I'd watch this with my mum when I was quite young, and I used to love it. I used to just laugh and laugh and laugh at like the gags and stuff. But like Ronnie Barker and David Jason, of course, like Granville and Arkwright, and like Ronnie Barker was known a lot for like Porridge, and of course he's all the skits, the sketch comedy and all that sort of stuff. But so he was kind of more known for other more popular shows and stuff, and like career retrospectives, like other shows are kind of bigger. But for me, this is always my favorite one that he was in. And he plays a character that's very true to life. He's just like the little shop corner stores that used to be around that, pretty much all got replaced now by giant supermarkets and malls and shit like that. This is the thing you'd see up and down in the country in New Zealand and that.
Yeah, and this is like it's as real an environment as Only Fools and Horses, but you're just seeing a different side to society. Yeah. But it's still that real life, day to day kind of churn of people going about their business. Just to go back though to an earlier point you made when we were talking about Only Fools and Horses, you are right about David Jason never really looking young, because this is like, he is young, like technically he's very young, but he just looks like he always looks kind of like the same age almost. Like he always looks like, it's like that Ric Flair type of gene where you always look a little bit old no matter what age you are. But he was crazy young back here. Fantastic show.
But another one, I like the music and it's just a simple little music theme. There's no lyrics or anything. It's just like music. But whenever I hear it, I'm just like instantly, I'm just like a kid again watching the show with my mum.
It's a very nostalgic, cozy type of show.
Yeah.
And like the type of comedy that's in it, there's no real maybe jeopardy is the wrong word, but there's nothing on the show where you're going to feel like down or drab. It's just a nice light.
No, it's like pretty much characters and dialogue. Occasionally bloody David Jason might have a bit of a mishap on a bike in traffic or something, but it's pretty much off screen. He's falling off the bike, or they try and get him a vehicle and it all goes wrong, and doing the deliveries. But bloody Arkwright, they're marking down specials and move these over here. It's all very mundane stuff, but it's just the dialogue and the clever wit and stuff they come up with,
and just the realness
Hungarian
of it all as well.
He's Hungarian.
But yeah, the corner shop newsagent is a thing of the past, unfortunately. Like there's an entire, probably multiple generations now that just, it's something they've either rarely seen or haven't seen at all. But just like in England, Scotland, Wales, Ireland, New Zealand, these shops were like all over the place.
Yeah, in New Zealand, they would call it the dairy. In Australia, would call it the milk bar, which when I first come here, I'm like, what the hell is the milk bar? But it's like dairy, corner shop, like small grocer / newsagent / whatever. They might have tools in there as well, whatever random stuff they sell it.
Laxton is a kind of community hub as well, which is the whole deal with with open all hours as well, because the shop as the main setting, that's what drags in all the surrounding characters.
Yeah, and because they live,
scenarios.
We didn't mention like the front is the shop and the back or the upstairs is where they live. It's one building, so that's where they live. And there's loads of places I've been to as a kid like that in New Zealand where it's like literally the shop is also where they live.
Yeah, he had an amazing run, David Jason, for doing comedy, and then he went and did a total kind of switcheroo and ended up doing, like
Touch of Frost and all that.
Yeah, and all that serious crime drama. He's an excellent actor. Like he's
great.
Got a serious range. And I suppose, like in Open All Hours, he's kind of you can kind of see, even though it's a very funny situation, you can kind of see his seriousness shine through in the character. Like you can
Yeah.
tell he's got acting chops. Definitely, he's not just you know, a gag man. You know, he's not just there to give
Yeah,
you a few
yeah.
jollies. Like he can actually deliver a bit of real acting for you as well.
Yeah, I one of the things I like about the show is well, it likes that community aspect. It's like people walking in and out in the day to day, but it's like it's not trying to be in your. I laugh at this like out loud. I laugh because of the clever dialogue, like Blackadder and that, and the wit. But it's a lot of it feels very real. Like you could go into a shop or a place, and there are characters and people who are just naturally a mix of funny and eccentric or weird and cantankerous, and they're just a bit odd, you know, but likable, not like a bastard or
Yeah,
anything. But like it comes from
exactly.
that. It comes from being like the character, not trying to be over the top or anything like young ones, you know.
It's the difference, I think, between drawing your material maybe from real life people as opposed to
Yeah,
fucking tropes, which like in modern
yeah, it feels
comedy it
very
feels like
real.
there's
Like,
just yeah. Whereas in modern comedy you just kind of have to fit a certain stereotype or trope that they've kind of
hmm,
preordained for you. Whereas these older shows, like there was just something, there was a gritty realness to the characters that made it even
yeah,
more relatable. I think, you know, you weren't just listening to somebody do a joke or do something funny. Like it felt like a real person you were watching in this type of situation. I think that's what makes the difference.
yeah. Like I
There's a
knew
connection there.
one of my best mates when I was in New Zealand, his dad was from Yorkshire, and he wasn't. I'm not going to say he was like super funny or anything, but occasionally he'd have a turn of phrase or a say thing, and it would just make me laugh. And he wasn't trying to make you laugh; it was just the way he talked and said stuff and certain slang and all that. And or one time I went to their house, and he's like, "Great cracker," and I was like, and I knew what he means. Like it means like Robbie Coltrane's about to be a cracker, and he literally like smashed his head like this. It's like because it's like something quality to watch because he didn't his
Yeah.
dad didn't watch a lot of TV. He just worked a lot, and most shows he wouldn't give a shit about. But he was like, crack it. He was like excited that was going to be on.
He was going to have a cracking time.
Yeah. Yeah. What was the joke my mate used to say? Is like his dad used to get those lollies, the fisherman's friend. They're like mints. And then at the
Yeah.
time he was doing some temporary work, which is down there Fremantle now, the port. And I remember saying to one time in the afternoon, said to me, mate, I said, "Where's your dad?" He goes, "Oh, he's down at the wharf with a fisherman's friend." Sounds a bit suspect.
Those were powerful mints, as I recall. They blew
Oh
the head
yeah,
of
he
you.
loved them. You could bloody smell them from across the river.
Yeah. I think apart from
He'd
being
always
like
have a
super
packet in the
minty,
car.
yeah, they'd like clear your nostrils out. They're that
Yeah,
fucking strong.
they're not for the weak of heart or will. Those ones, they're like full on.
Only the burly fishermen can handle them.
Yeah.
They wouldn't mind some sparkling orange for 6.5p.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I grabbed
Six and
this
a
one
half
on
pence.
DVD last year, and so I got the full run of that. I didn't even know until recently there's actually like a sequel show where Granville's older and he's playing the old man role to some other young apprentice.
Yes.
So I've never watched that. I don't know if it's bad or not, but
It's decent. I actually do remember what I forgot it existed, but I do remember watching it at the
Mhm.
time and thinking it was pretty good. So I haven't do I don't have open all hours on any type of physical media. I'm probably gonna have to do
Yeah, I
something
got it
about
for like
that because
$10, the whole thing. Like, I was so happy with it. Like what the day I got it, I was super excited because I hadn't seen it for like close to 20 years, not since like leaving New Zealand, which was like year 2000. I hadn't seen it.
yeah, it's due. I'd say it's nearly God. It must be, let me think, at least 20, 22 years maybe since I
Mhm.
last watched it. Making me
I didn't
feel
know how
old
well it
now, but
hold up, but I always think I always had like what do you call it, like the rose colored spectacles or memories or whatever, you know. I didn't know if watching a thing, oh, there was a good memory, but will I enjoy it now? Like I loved it. I just was laughing so hard and just loved every minute of it.
yeah, it wasn't just the mist of nostalgia trying to trick you. You
No,
actually
no,
did enjoy it.
yeah, but yeah, great show, like great casting, and he's always trying to bloody Ronnie Barker's character Arkray. He's always trying to get married to Nurse Gladys, who lives across the road, and she's like the community nurse going around in her vehicle, and they're always kind of like almost going to get married, but they don't. And the funny thing is, because he lives in the shop and she's across there, if they did get married, what would change? She would still be living in the shop, and what would actually be different?
They'd just be living together.
You would assume so, but then they wouldn't be able to run the shop and they'd go to business. So it kind of got into my head when I rewatched it this time. I thought that was kind of like that would end the show if they actually got married.
All he wants is her. The circumstances don't matter to him.
Yeah. He's always trying to catch all the bloody peep up her dress and everything. Bloody perv.
Dirty fucker.
Yeah, it's a fairly clean, like family kind of show, but you get the occasional double entendre and little clever PG wordplay and stuff.
Well, like unlike say Peep Show or something like that, you actually can watch open all hours in the daytime. There's the network doesn't have to worry about censoring or cursing or nudity or lewdness. It's a very accessible show for people of all ages, I would say.
Yeah. But even bloody Granville's still like chasing ladies here and there.
Yeah. Chasing that scarce.
Yeah.
Mr. Faulty.
Mr. Faulty. If you don't like Duck, you're rather
Faulty.
stuck.
Don't mention the war.
This is another show. This was always on repeats when I was a kid back in New Zealand, and I've got very good memories. I've watched it so many times since. Another one I've probably watched. Some of the episodes I might have seen close to 100 times by now. It's just been over and over. But I used to always watch this with my dad when I was a kid. Whereas, like, I don't think my mum would be into the show so much. But watching this with my dad on repeats and be eating like dinner time or whatever, might be eating fish and chips for dinner and watching this. But every time, man, I just such brilliant writing of the show again. It's so clever. And I didn't know also how much this is also kind of like based on just like some real world people that are meant to be like complete horrible wankers and all. That's kind of like the basis of Basil.
Well, like, if it wasn't for the fact he was so funny, you probably would hate Basil.
Yeah.
Like, he is.
He's a terrible person of the show. He's like selfish person with no real confidence and no spine and all that, but it's played for laughs. But apparently it is somewhat based on some real people. It's
crazy that it's such a short run. Maybe that's why
it about it, because it was because it was a short run, but every episode where even the best comedy shows that go on, usually there's a bit of pacing or padding in a show for the runtime and for what's happening, and there's a laugh and then this thing happens and whatever the next laugh was seen. Whereas Faulty Towers was like written really concisely and very like a form where there's not that many episodes, but every episode really has a lot packed into it, and it stands up to being rewatched over and over. And like not just the comedy, but just seeing like this, even the basic sets and the people and what's going on and the everything. It's just like brilliant show, really fantastic writing, but like you get more out of it kind of each time you watch it and pick up on little things you didn't notice the previous time.
It's a very easy show to kind of pick up and watch, in the sense that you can pick any episode individually. It doesn't matter whether you've watched before or after, because you'll get the entire pretty much run of the characters. Like everything kind of resets for the new set of guests coming in each episode. So that's the beauty of it. Like obviously if you have been watching it, you'll get maybe a bit more of a payoff, but it is very easily kind of accessible in the sense you just watch any random episode and just get a lot of laughs out of it.
Yeah, Faulty Towers roulette. That's what it used to be in repeats too. Often be out of order, so you never know which episode is going to be on. It's fun for people that were Python fans too. When you saw Connie Booth, you're like, I recognise her from old Flying Sugs.
It also has a decent element of the physical comedy as well, especially when it comes to Basil getting himself into situations, and whether it just be from like tripping and landing on his arse or doing something else kind of equally embarrassing. But there's something about John Cleese, man. He's just got such a kind of wide array of talents on screen. He can just kind of,
Yeah.
he'll make you watch and pay attention to him no matter what he's doing, even if he's just like talking at a normal pace or whatever. You're just kind of
Well,
glued to the screen.
he's got a couple of like autobiography kind of books, and they're pretty frank and serious. And that he talks about his background and what. But he said when he started out doing acting, not even comedy, but actually doing acting like on stage and the theater stuff, whatever, you know, like the, even it wasn't sketches, just like acting. He said he was absolutely terrified and just never really wanted to do it. Wanted to be a writer, not really act on screen and do serious stuff, because he said it would just absolutely terrified him and he hated it. As in, it made him like so nervous and he felt like just had no confidence in any of it. And yet, but people didn't really get that from him. And so people that saw him and knew him pushed him to actually keep going with that because they thought he was good at it. But he had no confidence. It was other people that really encouraged him to keep going. He just purely wanted to be like writing that. Even on Python doing sketches, he was more a writing guy, but he got put into a lot, became almost kind of like the face of Python, really, because in so many of the sketches.
It's wild though that the you know, a person who was that kind of hesitant to step into that sort of role.
And he said he was naturally clumsy, so that leans into the Basil character when he does those falls.
Yeah, and he takes some tumbles. Like he goes downstairs, you know, he gets himself into some very dire situations in the physical sense. The faulty towers though, the guest house itself, I can't really speak to what it's like over where you are, but you would have guest houses like that dotted across England and Ireland, very similar. So once again,
like,
and this is,
I don't know what you got now in New Zealand, but like it's the kind of thing you would see. See, in the main part of the town, you might get a hotel, motel, or whatever. Whereas this, you would see more on the outskirts of a town if you're driving down the countryside, where it might be scenic, or because otherwise, why are you staying there? There needs to be a reason to actually go here rather than something that's more convenient.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, it adds to the whole, you know, I think what makes a lot of these shows work, and it's the same with Fools and Horses, Open All Hours, that type of, like, they have these places that you know do exist, like, are these type of places that you know. So it is and I'm sure, look, you're going to be, if you're working in a guest house, you will see all sorts of colorful characters coming through. It's kind of almost like the perfect setting for this type of scenario to unfold. It's just a really, really great show. I think as well the fact that it only did whatever the one run, it's probably what makes it so good
episodes.
because they didn't have time to kind of overplay their hand and just like, you know, it probably is the type of thing that might have become a little bit repetitive if it had continued to go on and on for multiple seasons. But there's enough there compressed into, I think you're right. I think it's only 12 episodes altogether.
And there's all these different guests that come through the building, like where, you know, people are traveling, they come and they stay, they have breakfast, or they're going somewhere the next day, whatever. But a lot of them, sometimes it's like he thinks it's a food critic or restaurant critic, or sometimes it's like a cocky young person that Basil thinks, oh, they're swingers, they're having too much sex, or like, I don't want these people in here, they're no good hippies and all this. The only person he seems to like is the major, who basically lives there, and he's the only one who seems to consistently treat nicer than like anyone he knows, even his wife or anyone else. Everyone else he just treats terribly, unless he's trying to suck up to them because he thinks he's going to get something out of it.
Yeah, and he's such a cantankerous little toad. Basil,
I think my favorite episode is when he hires those dodgy dudes to come around and change. Across from the desk is the archway that goes into like the restaurant area, and they're meant to modify it, but they end up like covering the entire doorway so no one could walk in or out of it and fuck up the whole thing. And his wife told him not to use the bloody Dodgy Brothers construction of the budget guys. Told him to call the other guys. So the other guys to come out and fix it. Then he calls the other guy that they just like make a complete mess of it. And that feels very true to life too. Like get the dodgy builder who's not very reputable or hasn't got his license anymore.
Bloody cowboy builders, you know.
Yeah.
And like you said, though, a very real life situation. You tried to go the cheap route, and then it ended up costing you because you fucking got a dodgy job done. Yeah, it's such a timeless show, really. I did search. There's a few episodes up on YouTube. They seem to be though like not official, so I'm not sure what the rights or the ownership is like for this. You probably would still find it like, if you live in a place with BritBox or any of the, the BBC iPlayer or stuff like that, you'd probably get full episodes to stream that way if you're looking to indulge. If it's not on any of your kind of Netflixes or Amazon Primes already,
Yeah, it's usually
possible it could be.
in Australia and New Zealand, it's usually fairly cheap on DVD. You can get it for like $10-20.
Well worth it though, I would say. It's short and sweet. Like I said, it didn't hang around long enough to overstay its welcome. No pun intended. Talking about a gas test, but
Yeah, it's
it
kind
just
of ironic that
was
it
the right time.
became so popular that the repeats ran for so many years. It's like,
Yeah, that's the thing. When you've got good quality across the board, you can just play it forever. It's like
yeah,
classic Simpsons and stuff like that. Like, you can just repeat
yeah,
the
like
same
this
episodes over
was
and over again.
massively popular in New Zealand. It was always running on repeats for years and years and years.
Yeah. A
Like,
ratings
still be,
smash, as the network would say.
and it was, I think it was one of those generational shows too, where like older and younger people or families can watch it together. And people like, I grew up watching this show, and there would also be repeats of like George and Mildred or Frank Spencer and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, Frank Spencer, some mothers do have him,
Oh,
and
Betty.
it's one of those things. Yeah, another time perhaps we can kind of dive into that world.
Yeah, that used to be on a lot in repeats in NZ. And then one of my best mates in school, his mum had the bloody, it would have been VHS or CD albums and VHS of him, the Phantom of the Opera and all that.
That's awesome.
Andrew Lloyd Webber's Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah, need that physical media, because we are, of course, recording this show on the week that Sony announced an end to physical media. So fuck you, Sony, if you're watching.
So on to our last show of the evening. We will return to talk about other shows in the time, but this is the last one for today's show. Now, Mark, I know you work a high-pressure job out there, but we need you to go out there and find us a team and work together as a team. But guess what? You're all fired, and you're going to be fired as a team. So now do it as a team and go and fire the other team we just hired.
Welcome to the corporate IT world, in a nutshell. This is definitely the newest show on our list, I would say.
Yeah, and this is actually another one. To me,
today.
this is like the kind of successor to Father 10 Black Books. Obviously, you got the Graham Linehan thing. You got the three weirdos in an undesirable situation. And my family introduced me to the show again.
This, now, as ashamed as I am to say it, I've only seen very limited episodes of this because I've never went back to rewatch it. So the only thing I've seen of it were the bits I would catch on TV when it was actually airing on TV.
Yeah, it was just like
I do
10
know
Black
though
Box,
it's
it was 3
incredibly
seasons,
popular.
but like 6 episodes in each, I think.
Well, like straight there, I did not even realize it was that short a run. I assumed it was a lot longer, considering how often it actually
it's just like
airs on the
10
rerun.
books. It's like the same kind of format and the same amount of episodes and all that. But I've got this on DVD too. Actually, I think they're sitting on the floor next to me. So I got them out the other week. Yeah. So there's 3, and then the usual. Oh, you know how they do like the Christmas special and all that. So that's why there's another disc with like Christmas specials. But yeah, fantastic shows. Yeah. But yeah, you got Roy, who's the Irish fella, and then Moss, who's Richard Ioardi, who's done some really fantastic, fun travel shows where it's travel without mercy. He does those crazy travel shows. And Moss seems to be, at least to my eyes, he's seems to be somewhat autistic or something like that. He's definitely got something about him. Whereas Roy's just like the slacker sort of character, and just like he's probably competent at his job, but doesn't really care enough to do it particularly well. Because when he always plays the recording, comes on, it's like, "Hello, IT. Have you tried turning it off and on?" It's just a recording that plays every time the tech support phone answering machine goes on. And they're like they're in the basement and the dregs, and everyone else in the building. They got the corporates way up the top, and you got people in the middle doing all sorts of more important jobs. And one of the fun gags in season 1 and 2 is anytime they get called up to help fix someone's computer there, it's always these ridiculously good-looking models. And as the show goes on, there's more and more of them. Like the whole floor seems to be always filled with like models working at computers.
And like the trolls that live in the bottom of the building, these IT folk, you know, these freaks.
Have you seen past the first season though? You know, Matt Berry comes
I
in
have,
to the later
yeah.
ones. Yeah.
Yes.
Because he's fantastic. Plays the son of Denham, who's like the boss in the first season, and then he dies, and then the son comes in and he does this. He does the scene like in the famous music, goes far. He's like screaming, and they do the big dramatic pad back, like it's like Lethal Weapon or something, like some like movie scene. But he's like, the son is completely useless. He's like incompetent, knows nothing about business, goes into it because he inherited it, and he's always trying to do like weird scams and stupid stuff and basically just ruin the business because he doesn't know what he's doing.
Another scenario though that is kind of common in the real world, you know, parent dies, young person takes over the business and just completely fucks it up and puts it on its head, you know.
I love all the background stuff, all the stickers and pop culture stuff and all that. Like, I love all that stuff with it. It feels very authentic in it. And
yeah, and fairly typical of someone I'd say who's been working in the same place for a while.
Yeah,
it's their own kind of personalized space.
Yeah, and then like how Jen comes into it, she's the other character, and she gets sent down to basically be like banished with these weirdos in the basement to like manage them or whatever. But it's basically like she basically doesn't have a job. She has to just go there and just hang out there and do nothing. And it's unusual for a British thing, but there's even an episode where they're referencing like Japanese anime, because there's ones where she does like the weird cartoon stuff where she starts screaming and all her hair stands up like it's on end and it's doing like a cartoon cutaway with a big crazy wig and kind of a kabuki looking face. So there's all kind of weird stuff. And then the other character, of course, is what's his name, the Mighty Boosh dude.
I know the dude you're talking about. Yeah, I can't think of his.
I think it's like Noel something, because I never really got to see Mighty Boosh. I know of it and seen him on all the those British like pretend game shows and stuff where they do silly stuff like Taskmaster and all that. But he plays the other guy who lives. He doesn't come into it until several episodes in, but he's like a goth sort of dude. He's in the Cradle of Filth and other things, and they. When you see him, it's like he's like a vampire or something, because his hair's all slicked down and he's always like doing weird gestures like an old like Dracula movie or something.
Well, it is definitely, I would say, just going by the kind of reputation that it has. Like I said, I know I've only seen like a couple episodes. I would like to actually watch it in its entirety and like, you know, see
there's not that many. It's worth a go. I've watched them a bunch of times now.
It's still recent enough that it's probably still easily acquirable as well in terms of picking it up.
Oh, definitely.
It's probably even on streaming just because of how new it is. I wouldn't be surprised if
it should be on some places, I would think.
I'll find it one way or another, whether it be streaming or our beloved physical media.
Yeah, it's recent enough that it's still on quite a few things, I think. Yeah, it looks like there's some stuff on YouTube as well. Some full episodes on it. But yeah, the comedy style is very similar to Black Books and Father Ted, and of course Graham Linehan's like the showrunner again on it as well. So you got a similar thing of just like the characters and some wacky scenarios and things happening, as well as like the good dialogue and the good writing. And one of the ones I love, like Moss, who's like, you know, he's good at IT things and computer stuff and technical stuff, but other things outside of that world he's not good at, like, you know, football, talking to a woman, or anything like that, any of the stereotypical things. He's not good at dealing with things outside of his business. One time there's a fire in the room, a computer monitor goes on fire, and he tries to get it putting out with an extinguisher. That doesn't work. And when it doesn't work, he's like, I'll just put this over here next to the fire and leaves it sitting there. And he gets on the computer, and instead of calling like the 000 or 111 or whatever number they got over there, he emails the fire department. It's like, fire, exclamation mark. Looking forward to your reply. Love, Moss, or whatever. And he's like, ding, said. And he's sitting there waiting for an email response as the room's on fire.
I love it. I love it.
And Roy goes on a date in one episode, and he has like chocolate pudding or something that melts, and it accidentally gets on his hand, and he touches his forehead. But then he gets up for the dinner, goes to the toilet, and comes back. And the lady across him, who's like a first date, is sitting there staring at him, absolute horror. He has this lump on his head that looks like shit, but she's too embarrassed to say anything, and he doesn't know it's there. And they go back to the apartment, and they're saying goodbye, and he kind of leads in to like give her a kiss, and she's like recoils in terror, like, "No, don't touch me." And then at some point, I think they finally find out, and he touches it and realizes, and he goes, "No, no, it's pudding. It's not shit. It's pudding." And she's like, "Thank God, I thought you were a complete weirdo."
I thought you just like smear shit in your forehead after going to the toilet.
Yeah. Oh, there's another one. They go to like a I think it's like a film festival or something like that, or a community theater, whatever the hell it is. But Roy goes into this disabled bathroom, one of those big open access ones that's got the bars and the big heavy door and all that. And then he pretends when some people want to use the room, he pretends that he is disabled and he's lying on the floor. And he's the people come in and they call the emergency services because the door's locked, and they break it open. And he's going, "Help, help," and all this. And they're like, "Where's your wheelchair?" And he just looks at them and goes, "Stolen." He pretends to be disabled. And at the same theater performance with some actual physically disabled people, they find him another wheelchair, and they load him up on the van and like send him away to the group that had got out in community access, who pretended to be disabled just because he was using the toilet.
Yeah, we've all been there. Sometimes you just got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. But yeah, that one gets me, man. I've watched that with my missus a couple of times, and it always crack up saying that. You can even just say like lines from that about the bloody wheelchair being stolen. And he goes, "I'm disabled." He's just like talking. He's like panicking. He just talks like real pathetic, like weird sentences.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it's such a great show, man.
No, I will check it out in its entirety.
I was grateful when I got to see it the first time, because it was another one I'd never heard of, and I've been seeing with family or whatever, and they were telling me about it and recommended it, and I watched it. And the first episode, I was like, I went, "Oh, this is just like the other shows that are similar like this." And I was like, so I kind of knew what I was in for. It was like fantastic.
You were in for a treat.
Yeah. But yeah, that brings us to the end of today's episode. We've ticked a few more things off the list. We've talked about trading cards, Keith David, Vader, Kurt Russell, and now talked about some all-time classic comedies. And we might have to do a sequel or some other spotlight shows down the track, because there's plenty of other good shows we haven't talked about. This was just kind of some highlights.
Yeah, we've plenty to still cover, plenty on the cards for the future. Any preference for next week?
I've got no preference, so spin the wheel. It's all up for grabs. Prizes. You might get to play the home version of Boba Joe Show.
How about we go for Batman versus Predator?
Yeah, Batman vs. Predator. Sweet. Let's do it. You bring the baseball bat, I'll bring the armor.
Yeah, you heard it first here, folks. It's going to be Batman versus Predator next
First
week.
ever comic trade I ever bought.
Wow.
Not the first comic, but the first collected edition of a comic.
Yeah. No, I would be.
Saved up
I would
3
be
weeks
keen.
of money.
Oh, you wanted that bad?
Oh yeah, I've been to the shop and I seen it with my mate. We took it out of the Mylar bag. You're not supposed to take it out, and we were like, "Whoa, this is like big kids comics," you know. I want to get this one.
It's a blood and gore. Yeah, it's going to be exactly a good one. I am keen though and curious as always. Any of our viewers or listeners today, have you indulged or watched any of these comedies we spoke about today? I do realize that a decent chunk of our viewership is in the States or North America anyway, so it's, you know, there's a decent chance you may not have if not even heard of, but have certainly not watched a lot of what we
Bloody
talk
Yanks.
about today. So the Yanks, yeah, sorry Yankees, and the Canucks too.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, let us know. We're always keen. Have you seen any of this stuff? Would you be interested in watching any of it? Do you hate comedy? Are you one of those people? Do you hate laughter? Let us know.
Yeah, let us know. I was pretty lucky in New Zealand because we got a lot of British stuff and we got American stuff too. So we had Frasier, Friends, Seinfeld, all that sort of stuff. And I've never been a what will be a prejudiced word for against like comedy from a certain country. I don't know. Some people in New Zealand hate American comedy. There's like fuck off. They just want to watch the British stuff. And there's other people that like, well, we like American comedy. We don't like the British stuff. Whereas I've always grown up like a bit of everything.
Yeah, it's good to broaden your horizons and vary your tastes. You know, the
So
more
I'm very
the merrier.
privileged. If I'd grown up 10 years earlier, I probably would have been like had the same attitude.
Yeah, but you were one of the chosen ones. You were one of the special ones, Johnny.
Yeah. I was like Neil and the young ones. I'm going to fall from the second story through the floor by accident because someone didn't put a sign up and fell through the hole.
Could happen. Could happen.
Yeah. But yeah, thanks for tuning in and checking out us talking about some classic comedies. Hope you had a good time.
Great time. Great time as always. Hope everybody stays well and stays safe and has a good weekend.
Oh yeah, we'll catch you guys next time.
Take care, folks.